The purpose of this build isn't to be the star of any one thing, it's to be a good, solid Demon Slayer with the freedom to try out any combat style that you like. This is roughly the build that I completed the game on my first go around, so let's get into it. Firstly, this video is sponsored by me. If you go on to enjoy this video, be sure to leave it a like and a comment. It really helps out the channel here. Starting off with this build, the main focus is to be a real jack of all trades and the freedom to play the game however you want and try the different mechanics. So you can perform things like miracles and magic and also succeed in melee-based combat if that's what you choose. This build is not focused on being a complete min-maxed high DPS or high resistance build in any stretch of the means. It's all about freedom. If you're looking for a min-maxed guide, there's plenty of build guides out there that fit that purpose, and who knows, maybe I'll do one in the future as well. The goal here is flexibility and freedom. Freedom to take advantage of all of the boss's weaknesses. So if a boss is weak to magic, you've got the ability to use magic in combat, or maybe it's weak to fire and you've got a fire spell that you can use. Or if you're facing a slow moving knight, you're also able to move quickly so that you can get around them and have the flexibility to fight them in melee combat as well. Starting out with this build, your starting class for this build should most likely be the Temple Knight, as you start out with the Heal Miracle as well as heavy armor from the beginning of the game. Initially, you will be fat rolling, but we'll take care of this later down the line, and your initial starting weapon needs to be replaced as you progress, unless you do like using the halberd, which in my personal preference, I don't actually like it. I could see a case here for Royalty or the Priest as well, because you do start out with the Priest, you start out with the Heal Miracle as well, and Royalty, you start out with a Catalyst and the way to cast Soul Arrow at the beginning of the game. Royalty also has enough faith and magic to progress in both lines initially from the start of the game. You will just lose some of the flexibility in melee combat in the early stages, so you want to avoid taking damage at least before you get past Phalanx, the first boss. As you do start to level up here, there's a couple of things you want to take care of first, and then work out what kind of playstyle you want to main. In order to get access to both miracles, you need to have faith at 10, and for magic, you need to have your magic stat at 10. Spending some points in the early stages of the game to ensure that you have both of these at 10 is a good idea, so that you can have the freedom to play around with both lines, see if you want to specialize in either. You can learn miracles from the Disciple of God at the Nexus and magic from Freak's Apprentice at the Nexus as well. If you plan to primarily focus on ranged combat, magic, intelligence, and vitality should be the focus of your key stat upgrades, while ensuring you have enough strength or dexterity if you choose to focus on dexterity for your melee weapons, so that you can have the weapon of choice in your hand and not have the negative effects of not having the enough stats to use the weapon. The magic stat increases your magic power, and the intelligence stat increases your mana, which is used for both magic and miracles, and gives you more magic spell slots, while faith increases your faith power and grants you additional miracle slots. If you plan to play a primarily melee focused build, which is how I played my character, strength and vitality should be your primary stats, with some focus on endurance as you level up to increase your equip burden and your stamina. At a baseline, so that you can have the freedom to do what you like, you should be looking to have your vitality on 25, intelligence on 14 for the mana and the additional spell slots. Endurance and strength is really dependent if you are going for that melee build. If you are going for melee, you want to at least get them to 20 and 25 so that you can push this line further, and magic should at least be at 10, and then depending on how you choose to build, you could push these up further. If you choose to play a primarily spell focused build, you can bring your strength down to something like 18. This will allow you to use most of the strength based weapons in the game and use the rest of those points to put into magic, intelligence, or whatever you choose. As you do level up, there is not really a level cap, so you will be increasing these stats much further than these numbers here, but this is just a good baseline to get you started. In terms of equipment, there is plenty of equipment to find throughout the game, and as this build is primarily based around freedom, it is entirely up to you, but here is some tips to get you started in terms of what you should be equipping to your character. For rings, you want to equip the Cling Ring as soon as possible. It's found in the first section of the game, and this will increase your HP while in soul form, which is how you're going to spend 90% of the game. There is also a Ring of Great Strength, which you can get by making a run for it at the Dragon's Lair in the Boletarian Palace. Just avoid the fire the best you can. This will increase your equipped burden so that you can equip mostly heavy armor and to avoid the fat rolling in the game. In terms of armor, you do want to get away from fat rolling as soon as possible. You can avoid fat rolling by keeping your equipped burden below 50%. In the early stages of the game, you can achieve this by switching out some of your heavy armor to a light armor set. However, as as you progress through the game and increase your endurance if you choose to, you can put some of that heavier armor back on, or by having the Ring of Great Strength equipped. It is entirely up to you what you should be looking for. The fluted armor set is a really good set to choose that does have some really good heavy resistances. In order to cast magic, you do need a catalyst so that you can cast those spells, and for miracles you need a talisman of God. If your starting class doesn't have either of these, this is how you can get them. For the catalyst, after you defeat Phalanx on the bridge in the next area in this tower, you can actually get a catalyst. Just please avoid the dragonfire or else you're going to be in trouble. For a talisman of God, after defeating Phalanx again, you just need to go to the first area of the Shrine of Storms. After the first few skeletons, there is a talisman in the corner that you can access. The catalyst will allow you to cast magic, while the talisman is used for miracles. I personally put both of these as my secondary weapons behind my shield and my main weapon, and I switched to them as I felt necessary. It's a good idea to have the catalyst in your main offhand so that you can cast a spell while also having your shield available to block if you do need to protect yourself in that way. The talisman is more of a situational use, so you can put this behind your shield so that you can switch it out for a heal or any other miracles that you want to cast, as you don't have it out for long periods of time compared to the catalyst. For your melee weapons, it's really up to you and what works for your playstyle. There is plenty to choose from, and I mostly use a shield and a longsword or the knight sword as my main weapons. However, you should have a key focus here on what shield you are using, as not all shields have the same resistances. You should make sure that you have a shield equipped which has a physical reduction being 100%. What this means is that when you do block an attack, you will take no damage. If the shield is below this number, you will take some chip damage from those attacks. Something that is worth noting, that if you do like to hide behind your shield, you could put a spear in your offhand and safely attack while maintaining your guard. This is a great way to chip away at enemies while staying protected, as you can keep your shield up in a block and stab at people with the spear. However, it does consume a lot of stamina, so if you do choose this, you may want to look at increasing your endurance up more than we have talked about in this build. In terms of some general tips, miracles can be learnt from the Disciple of God at the Nexus. If you free Saint Urban from the Adjudicator's Arkstone, he will be there and take the Disciple's place and teach you more advanced miracles. And same goes for the magic spells. Freck's Assistant is located on the complete opposite side of the Miracle NPC. There will be advanced magic skills that you can get once you free his master, Sage Frick, at the first area of the Tower of Latrina. There's also another NPC that can teach you spells, which is considered to be witchcraft instead, which you can only get after rescuing Yuria the witch from the third area of the Boletarian Palace. However, when you free some of these NPCs, you should have a good idea on how you're choosing to play the game, whether it is focusing on miracles or magic or melee. So it is really up to you whether you choose to free them or you choose to kill them, or whatever you decide to do. As mentioned, this build is all about flexibility and having access to as many tools as possible, and not really being a superstar. This isn't the LeBron James build, this is a role player, right? The benefit here is giving you access to every tool that's available to you. There are many bosses in the game that have specific weaknesses. Now, because you do have everything available to you, you can leverage these weaknesses without too much movement in your actual character build. If they're weak to fire, you can cast Fireball on that enemy. If they're weak to magic, you've got Soul Arrow, or if they're just weak to melee attacks, you can attack there as well. You could also learn magic spells that allow you to imbue your primary weapon with magic or fire, so that you could put these stat bonuses onto your melee weapon if that's the focus that you choose. If you want more Demon Souls content, check out my starter class guide that goes through all the classes in their game and their strengths and weaknesses. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on Twitch, where I stream 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, Australian night times. Hope to see you guys there in the next stream. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.